Han Tae-ho was tired. He had been working in his small lab at the Korean Aerospace Research Institute for 16 hours straight. Empty coffee cups covered his desk. His eyes hurt from staring at computer screens, but he was close to finishing his project. Just a few more calculations and he could finally go home. The year was 2247. Humanity had made contact with alien species 50 years ago. Earth was still new to the galactic community. Most humans lived normal lives, but scientists like Tae-ho worked hard to help humanity catch up with more advanced civilizations. Tae-ho was 28 years old. He was not tall or handsome. He was just an ordinary engineer who loved solving problems. He lived alone in a small apartment. His younger sister Mirai called him boring. His best friend Jay said he needed to get out more. But Tae-ho was happy with his quiet life. That quiet life was about to end. A loud beeping sound suddenly filled the lab. Tae-ho jumped in his chair. A bright blue light appeared above his desk. He had seen this before in training videos. It was a Galactic Union transmission signal. But why would the Galactic Union contact him? He was nobody important. The light formed into a floating screen. A strange alien face appeared. It had gray skin, large black eyes, and no nose. Tae-ho recognized the species. It was a Valori, one of the administrator races that managed galactic affairs. Han Tae-ho? The alien asked in perfect Korean. Translation technology was wonderful. Yes, that is me, Tae-ho replied nervously. Congratulations. You have been selected as Earth's representative for the Convergence Assembly. Your transport will arrive in 72 hours. Please prepare accordingly. Tae-ho blinked. I am sorry. I think there is a mistake. I am just an engineer. I am not a diplomat or ambassador. The Valori checked something off screen. Han Tae-ho. Position, ambassador. Species, human. Planet, Earth. The records are correct. No, Tae-ho said quickly. There must be another Han Tae-ho. I am an engineer, not an ambassador. The Valori's expression did not change. The selection has been finalized. Galactic Union protocols do not permit substitutions once a representative is chosen. You will receive detailed instructions shortly. Congratulations again. The screen disappeared before Tae-ho could say another word. He sat in silence for a full minute. Then he grabbed his phone and called his sister. Mirai arrived at the lab within an hour. She was a biologist who worked in a nearby building. She was shorter than Tae-ho, with sharp eyes and a quick mind. Right now, those sharp eyes were wide with disbelief. The Convergence Assembly? She almost shouted. Do you know what that is? I looked it up, Tae-ho said miserably. It happens once every 100 years. Species send representatives to form alliances and partnerships. It is very important. It is not just important, it is the most important diplomatic event in the galaxy. Mirai grabbed her brother's shoulders. And they picked you? An engineer who burns rice? I told them it was a mistake. They would not listen. Their friend Jay arrived next. He was tall and cheerful, the opposite of serious Tae-ho. But even Jay looked worried when he heard the news. There must be another Han Tae-ho, Jay said. Someone in the diplomatic corps with the same name. Mirai was already searching on her tablet. Found him. Han Tae-ho, Senior Ambassador. Age 53. He was supposed to be Earth's representative. She looked up. He retired last month. The system must have pulled the wrong Han Tae-ho from the database when it updated. So call them and fix it, Tae-ho said hopefully. Mirai shook her head slowly. I already checked galactic law. Once a selection is registered, it cannot be changed. It is to prevent political manipulation. If we try to send someone else, Earth will be disqualified from the assembly entirely. The three of them sat in heavy silence. So I have to go, Tae-ho said quietly. You have to go, Mirai confirmed. The next 72 hours were chaos. Mirai gathered every piece of information she could find about the Convergence Assembly. Jay helped Tae-ho pack and tried to teach him basic diplomatic phrases. Government officials called constantly, giving advice and warnings. Tae-ho barely slept. He learned that the assembly would last 30 days. Representatives from dozens of species would attend. They would compete for alliances through various trials and ceremonies. Earth, as a new species, had low status. Tejo would need to be very careful not to offend anyone. On the third day, a silver transport ship landed outside the institute. It was beautiful and terrifying. Tejo hugged his sister goodbye. "I put a communication device in your bag," Mireille whispered. "It is illegal, but I do not care. Contact me if you need help." "Do not die," Jay added helpfully. "And try to have fun?" Tejo laughed weakly. Then he boarded the ship. The journey was supposed to take 6 hours. The ship was comfortable, with soft seats and pleasant lighting. But Tejo could not relax. He read through his notes again and again. He practiced greeting phrases for different species. He tried to remember which colors were offensive to which aliens. 4 hours into the journey, the ship shook violently. Red warning lights filled the cabin. An automated voice announced something in a language Tejo did not understand. Then the ship shook again. Harder this time. Tejo gripped his seat in terror. He was not a pilot. He could not fix whatever was wrong. All he could do was wait and hope. The shaking stopped after 20 minutes. The lights returned to normal. The automated voice said, "Minor engine malfunction repaired. Continuing to destination. Estimated delay. 3 hours. 3 hours late." Tejo's heart sank. He was going to arrive 3 hours late to the most important diplomatic event in a century. What kind of impression would that make? The rest of the journey passed in anxious silence. Tejo watched through the window as a massive space station came into view. It was larger than any city on Earth. Lights glittered across its surface like stars. Hundreds of ships moved around it like fish in the ocean. The Convergence Assembly Station, his destination, his fate. The transport ship docked with a gentle bump. Tejo gathered his small bag. He straightened his formal jacket. He took a deep breath. The docking bay doors opened. Tejo stepped out, expecting to see a few officials waiting to guide him. Maybe some paperwork to complete. A quiet start to a stressful month. Instead, he froze. The docking bay was enormous. With ceilings so high they disappeared into shadow. And standing in the center, arranged in neat rows, were dozens of alien women. Tall ones with silver skin, short ones with glowing blue markings, muscular ones with bronze scales, delicate ones with translucent wings. All of them female, all of them staring directly at him. At the front stood the tallest woman. She had cold violet eyes and an expression of clear irritation. She stepped forward, and her voice echoed through the silent bay. "You are tardy, human." Tejo could not move. He could not speak. He could only stare at the impossible scene before him. What had he gotten himself into? Tejo stood frozen at the entrance of the docking bay. His brain refused to work properly. Dozens of alien women continued to stare at him. Some looked angry. Some looked curious. A few looked at him like a cat looks at a mouse. The tall woman with silver skin and violet eyes walked closer. Her steps were precise and powerful. Everything about her said she was someone important, someone dangerous. "I am Commander Lyra of the Villani Dominion," she said. Her voice was cold like winter wind. "You have kept the assembly waiting for 3 hours. Explain yourself." Tejo found his voice somewhere deep in his dry throat. "My ship had engine problems. I am very sorry for the delay." Lyra studied him for a long moment. Her violet eyes seemed to look right through him. "Engine problems," she repeated slowly. "Convenient. It is the truth," Tejo said. He did not understand why she seemed suspicious. A smaller alien woman stepped forward. She had pale blue skin covered with soft glowing markings, like stars painted on her body. Her eyes were kind, unlike Lyra's cold stare. "I am Nessa of the Corvani Collective," she said gently. "You must be tired from your journey. Perhaps we should let him rest before questioning him, Commander." "The assembly has protocols," Lyra replied sharply. "He must be introduced properly." Another woman pushed to the front. This one was tall and muscular. with bronze scales covering her arms and neck. She grinned at Teho, showing teeth that were slightly too sharp. "So this is the human male," she said. "Smaller than I expected. I am Thera, of the Dravine Empire. I hope you are more impressive than you look." Teho did not know how to respond to that. He noticed she said male in a strange way, like it meant something special. The last woman to introduce herself was perhaps the most beautiful and the most unsettling. She had pale skin that seemed almost transparent, and delicate wings folded against her back like glass artwork. Her smile was perfect and completely unreadable. "Aurea of the Elysian Federation," she said smoothly. "Welcome to the Convergence Assembly, Han Teho. We have been waiting for you with great anticipation." Something about the way she said that made Teho nervous. All of these women made him nervous. Why were they all here? Why were there no men? "Thank you for the welcome," Teho managed to say. "I apologize again for my lateness. I am honored to represent Earth at this assembly." The women exchanged glances. Some of them smiled. Some of them whispered to each other. Lyra's expression remained cold. "Follow me," Lyra commanded. "The formal reception is waiting." Teho followed her through massive corridors made of gleaming metal and crystal. The other women walked behind him. He could feel their eyes on his back. It was deeply uncomfortable. The reception hall was even more impressive than the docking bay. Thousands of aliens filled the space. And as Teho looked around, his confusion grew. He saw females everywhere, tall females, short females, females with scales and fur and feathers, but almost no males. He spotted a few males here and there. They stood quietly beside female companions. They wore simple clothes and kept their eyes down. None of them looked like leaders or diplomats. A horrible thought began to form in Teho's mind. The formal introduction took place on a raised platform. Teho stood alone, while a Valori official announced him to the crowd. "Representing the Earth Coalition, Han Teho." The crowd reacted immediately. Voices rose in surprise and excitement. Many of the alien women leaned forward to get a better look at him. Teho felt like an animal in a zoo. "He is young," someone said. "Unusual coloring," another commented. "The humans sent a male? Fascinating choice." After the ceremony, Lyra led Teho to a private room. The other three women followed. Nessa, Thera, and Aurea sat down while Lyra remained standing. "We need to discuss your situation," Lyra said. "My situation?" Teho asked carefully. Lyra looked at him with something close to pity. It was worse than her coldness. "You really do not understand, do you?" "Understand what?" Thera laughed loudly. "The human has no idea. This is wonderful." "Be kind," Nessa said softly. "This must be confusing for him." Aurea smiled, her perfect smile. "Allow me to explain, Han Teho. In most galactic civilizations, females are the dominant sex. We lead governments, command armies, conduct diplomacy. Males are precious, protected, rare. In some species." Teho's stomach dropped. "Rare? The Dravine have one male born for every 100 females," Thera said proudly. "Our males are kept safe in special compounds. They do not concern themselves with politics or war." "The Villani ratio is similar," Lyra added. "Males serve ceremonial roles. They do not travel off-world. So when Earth announced they would send a representative to the Convergence Assembly," Aurea continued, "everyone expected a female. Sending a male is unprecedented. It sends a very specific message." Teho was afraid to ask. "What message?" The four women looked at each other. Nessa spoke gently. "They believe Earth has offered you as a partnership gift. A potential mate. For political alliance." The world stopped spinning. Teho could not breathe. "What?" he whispered. "The Convergence Assembly is where species form alliances," Lyra explained. "Traditionally, this includes marriage unions between ruling houses. Earth sending a male suggests you are here to be claimed by whichever faction proves most worthy." "No," Teho said quickly. "No, no, no. This is a mistake. There was a clerical error." I am not supposed to be here at all. I am just an engineer. I am not a gift, or a prize, or a mate for anyone. Thera laughed again. Human modesty. It is charming. I am not being modest. Teho's voice rose with panic. This is a real mistake. My government did not send me as a gift. They sent me because the computer system confused me with someone else. Lyra frowned. You expect us to believe that Earth made an administrative error, with the most important diplomatic event in a century? Yes, because that is exactly what happened. The room fell silent. Aurea tapped her delicate fingers together thoughtfully. Thera looked amused. Lyra looked skeptical. Only Nessa studied Teho with different eyes. She watched his panicked breathing, his sweating forehead, his trembling hands. I believe him, Nessa said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. He is not acting, she continued. His stress responses are genuine. This human truly did not know what he was walking into. Lyra's cold expression cracked slightly. If that is true, this creates significant problems. Problems? Teho asked. The assembly has already been informed of your arrival, Aurea explained. Every faction has registered interest in the human representative. They have prepared gifts, proposals, demonstrations of worth. If we announce this was all a mistake, Earth would be humiliated, Lyra finished. Your species would lose all credibility. Other factions might see it as an insult. There could be serious consequences. Teho felt sick. So what do I do? You stay, Lyra said firmly. The assembly lasts 30 days. You will participate as expected. You will attend ceremonies and trials. And at the end, you will politely decline all partnership offers and return to Earth. 30 days? Teho's voice cracked. I have to pretend for 30 days? Unless you want Earth to be labeled a joke among galactic civilizations, yes. Teho sat down heavily. His legs could no longer support him. This morning he was a simple engineer working on spacecraft designs. Now he was trapped in an alien political nightmare, surrounded by women who thought he was some kind of prize to be won. Thera slapped him on the back hard enough to nearly knock him over. Cheer up, little human. 30 days is not so long. And who knows? Maybe you will enjoy the attention. Teho looked up at the 4 very different, very powerful alien women surrounding him. He had never been less sure of anything in his life. The first week at the Convergence Assembly was a nightmare that Teho could not wake from. Everywhere he went, alien women watched him. They whispered when he passed. They smiled in ways that made him uncomfortable. Some were polite. Some were aggressive. All of them saw him as something to be won. He learned quickly that galactic politics moved in complicated patterns. The 4 women he met first belonged to 4 different factions. Lyra and the Villani Dominion valued strength and discipline. Thera and the Dravine Empire prized combat and honor. Nessa and the Corvani Collective focused on healing and knowledge. Aurea and the Elysian Federation played games of manipulation and trade. Each faction wanted Earth as an ally, and they all believed Teho was the key. On the 7th day, Lyra summoned Teho to the Grand Arena. Thousands of spectators filled the seats around a massive circular floor. The 4 faction leaders waited in a viewing box above. Today begins the Trials of Worth, Lyra announced. These ancient traditions determine which suitors are worthy of partnership. Teho raised his hand nervously. I thought the trials were for women competing against each other. Why am I here? Oh. Normally, yes. Aurea answered smoothly. But you are the subject of competition this time. Tradition requires you to prove your own species' value through the trials. What happens if I fail? Earth's status in the assembly drops significantly. Lyra said simply. Your species would be seen as weak, unworthy of serious alliance. Teho closed his eyes. Of course. No pressure at all. The first trial was strength. A simple test. Lift increasingly heavy objects until you could lift no more. Teho watched as representatives from other species lifted massive weights like they were toys. Some had 4 arms. Some had bodies built entirely of muscle. One had some kind of anti-gravity ability. When Teho's turn came, The crowd went quiet. He grabbed the first weight. It was heavy but manageable. He lifted it successfully. The crowd murmured with surprise. The second weight was harder. His arms shook, but he lifted it. The third weight did not move. Taeho pulled with everything he had. His face turned red. His muscles screamed in protest. The weight stayed on the ground. Laughter rippled through the arena. Taeho stepped back in shame. He had lifted less than half of what most others had achieved. But in the viewing box, Thera was not laughing. She leaned forward with interest. "He is weak," Lyra observed. "He lasted longer than I expected," Thera replied. "Humans have no natural strength advantages. No enhanced muscles or extra limbs. He lifted that much through pure will." Nessa nodded thoughtfully. "Determination. That is worth noting." The second trial was diplomacy. Representatives were placed in simulated conflict scenarios. They had to negotiate peace between fictional warring groups. Points were given for creative solutions and avoiding violence. Taeho entered his simulation nervously. The scenario was complex. Two alien civilizations were fighting over a planet. Both had valid claims. Both refused to compromise. He tried to find common ground. He suggested sharing the planet. The simulated aliens rejected this angrily. He proposed economic partnership. They were not interested. He attempted to find hidden motivations. He made mistakes. He accidentally insulted one side's religious beliefs. The simulation ended with war. Taeho had failed. He walked out of the chamber with his head down. The delegates watching shook their heads disappointedly. But then something strange happened. The representative from the insulted faction approached him. She was a tall being with green skin and 4 eyes. "Human," she said. "Your words were offensive." Taeho bowed deeply. "I am truly sorry. I did not understand your culture well enough. That is my failure, not yours. Your beliefs deserve respect, and I did not give it." The green-skinned alien paused. Then she smiled slowly. "No one has ever apologized to me at this assembly. Not once, in 300 years of attending." She walked away, leaving Taeho confused. In the viewing box, Oria raised an eyebrow. "Interesting." He turned a failure into a connection. "Accidental diplomacy," Lyra said dismissively. "Still diplomacy," Nessa pointed out. The third trial was intelligence. Representatives were presented with a complex engineering puzzle. A machine with thousands of parts needed to be assembled correctly. Some parts were damaged and needed to be worked around. The puzzle had stumped galactic scholars for centuries. Taeho looked at the scattered pieces and felt something shift inside him. This was familiar. This was home. Engineering was what he did. He studied the parts carefully. He noticed patterns that others had missed. The damaged pieces were not random. They formed a secondary puzzle within the main puzzle. The machine was designed to be built 2 different ways. Taeho began working. His hands moved with confidence. He ignored the traditional solution that everyone else attempted. Instead, he used what he called creative engineering. If a part did not fit, he found another way. If a connection was broken, he made a new path. 20 minutes later, he placed the final piece. The machine hummed to life. Lights flickered across its surface. A holographic display appeared above it, showing words in an ancient language. The arena went completely silent. Then chaos erupted. Delegates rushed to see what Taeho had done. Scholars pushed forward, unable to believe their eyes. The puzzle that had defeated the galaxy's greatest minds for centuries had been solved by a human in less than half an hour. "How?" someone shouted. "How did he do that?" Taeho blinked at the crowd. "I just thought about it differently. The obvious solution was not working, so I tried something else." "Lateral thinking," Nessa said from the viewing box. Her voice was filled with wonder. "Humans do not have superior processing power or enhanced memory. They think sideways, around problems instead of through them." Thera stood up, her competitive spirit burning. "I demand more tests. I want to see what else this human can do." Even Lyra's cold expression had cracked. She looked at Tejo with something new in her violet eyes. Not warmth exactly, but respect. Aurea simply smiled her mysterious smile. Earth just became much more interesting. Earth. That night, Tejo received a private message. He opened it, expecting congratulations from his sister Mireille. Instead, the screen showed only 3 words in harsh red letters: "Leave or die." Tejo stared at the message. His success in the trials had made him more valuable to the factions, but it had also made him enemies. Someone at the assembly did not want humanity to succeed. Someone wanted him dead. He deleted the message with shaking hands. Then he sent a coded signal to Mireille on Earth. He needed help. He needed information. Most importantly, he needed to understand who was trying to kill him, because Tejo was now certain of one thing. He was no longer just an accidental diplomat playing pretend. He was a target. Tejo did not sleep well after receiving the death threat. Every shadow in his quarters seemed dangerous. Every sound made him jump. He was an engineer, not a soldier. He did not know how to handle people who wanted to kill him. 3 days after the trials, he finally managed to contact his sister. The illegal communication device Mireille had hidden in his bag created a secure channel that could not be traced. "You look terrible," Mireille said when her face appeared on the small screen. "Someone wants me dead," Tejo replied flatly. Mireille's expression changed immediately. "Tell me everything." He explained the situation. The trials. His unexpected success. The anonymous threat. Mireille listened carefully, her scientist mind already working on the problem. "The timing matters," she said. "The threat came after you proved humanity was valuable. Someone does not want Earth to gain allies." "But who?" "Everyone here seems to want me for their faction. Not everyone benefits from human success. Some species might see Earth as competition. Others might have political reasons to keep humanity isolated." Mireille typed rapidly on her own computer. "I will research galactic politics. There must be groups opposed to human integration." "Work fast," Tejo said. "I do not think I have much time." The next week passed in a blur of diplomatic events and constant tension. Tejo attended ceremonies where he understood nothing. He sat through speeches in languages his translator struggled to process, and always, he watched for danger. The 4 faction leaders continued their competition for his attention. Each approached him differently. Thera challenged him to physical contests. "You are weak," she said bluntly, during their first training session. "But weakness can become strength. Let me teach you." She threw punches that Tejo barely dodged. She knocked him down repeatedly. But she also showed him how to fall without injury. How to use an opponent's strength against them. How to survive. "Humans are not warriors," Thera admitted after one session. "But you do not give up. You get knocked down and rise again. That is respectable." "Getting up is all I know how to do," Tejo replied, catching his breath. Thera laughed her loud laugh. "Good answer, little human." Lyra observed Tejo with cold calculation. She invited him to meetings where Villani commanders discussed strategy. She wanted to see how his mind worked. "Your solution to the puzzle was unorthodox," she said one evening. "My officers would never have thought of it." "Sometimes the unusual approach works best," Tejo said carefully. "Unusual is dangerous, unpredictable, or it is advantage. Your enemies expect you to think in certain ways. Surprise them." Lyra was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded slightly. "Perhaps humans have something to offer after all." Nessa was gentler. She treated the bruises Tejo earned from training with Thera. Her healing technology was far beyond anything on Earth. Blue light flowed from her hands and erased pain. "Your body is different from ours," she said while working. "Humans heal slowly. But you heal from almost anything eventually. Other species do not have that ability. We call it being stubborn," Tejo joked weakly. Nessa smiled. "I call it remarkable." She paused her work. "Han Tejo, I want you to know that I believe your story. About the clerical error. About not wanting to be here." Tejo looked at her with surprise. "You do? I am a healer. I study living things. You are not lying. Your stress is real. Your confusion is real." She resumed healing. I think you are a good person trapped in a bad situation. I want to help you. Why? What does your faction gain? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps I simply believe that kindness matters more than politics. Tejo felt something warm in his chest. It was the first truly kind thing anyone had said to him since arriving. Oria was the hardest to read. She invited Tejo to elegant dinners, where she asked questions about Earth, about human culture, about him personally. Every conversation felt like a test he might be failing. You are uncomfortable with power, Oria observed one night. I am an engineer. I build things. I do not rule them. And yet here you are, representing your entire species, making decisions that affect billions of lives. I did not choose this. No one chooses their destiny, Han Tejo. We simply meet it. Oria sipped her drink elegantly. The question is what you will do now that destiny has found you. 2 weeks into the assembly, disaster struck. A grand banquet was held in Tejo's honor. Hundreds of delegates attended. Food and music and lights filled an enormous hall. Tejo stood at the center, feeling more exposed than ever. He noticed a strange woman near the edge of the crowd. She wore dark clothing and watched him with hateful eyes. Before he could react, she raised something in her hand. It glowed with deadly energy. Time slowed. Tejo saw the weapon aim at his heart. He could not move. He could not escape. Then bronze scales filled his vision. Thera threw herself in front of him just as the weapon fired. The energy blast hit her shoulder instead of his chest. She roared in pain but stayed standing. Guards! Lyra's voice cut through the chaos. Seize her. Security forces swarmed the attacker. The banquet exploded into screaming and running bodies. Tejo dropped beside Thera, who had fallen to one knee. You saved me, he said stupidly. Obviously, Thera growled through pain. Cannot let the human die before I defeat him properly. Nessa arrived within seconds, her healing light already glowing. Other healers followed. The wound was serious but not fatal. Thera would recover. Later that night, Tejo learned the truth about his attacker. She belonged to a group called the Purists. They believed in species purity. They thought humans were too primitive, too dangerous to join galactic civilization. They wanted Earth isolated forever. The Purists have followers in every faction, Lyra explained in a secure room. They work in secret. This attack was just the beginning. Why do they hate humans so much? Tejo asked. Because you are different, Oria answered. Your species cooperates across genetic lines. You adapt to any environment. You think in ways that break established patterns. The Purists fear what humanity might become. So they will keep trying to kill me. Yes. Tejo sat quietly for a moment. Then he made a decision. I cannot just survive, he said slowly. If I hide and wait for 30 days, they win. Earth gets labeled as weak. Humanity loses its chance. What are you suggesting? Lyra asked. I need to change the game. Stop being a prize to be won. Start being something else entirely. What else? Tejo looked at the 4 women who had become his unlikely allies. The cold commander, the fierce warrior, the gentle healer, the cunning diplomat. I want to represent humanity on my own terms. Not as a marriage gift, not as a political tool. As an equal partner offering real alliance based on what we can truly offer each other. Silence filled the room. Then Oria laughed softly. Bold, she said. Unprecedented. Possibly insane. Will the assembly accept it? Tejo asked. Lyra considered. We can propose it, but they will set conditions. If you fail to secure even one meaningful alliance by the end of the convergence, Earth will be classified as non-viable. Your species will be quarantined from galactic affairs. Permanently. The stakes could not be higher. Tejo's heart pounded. I accept, he said, and everything changed. The assembly granted Tejo's request with skepticism. Most delegates believed the human was making a desperate mistake. How could one primitive species offer anything to civilizations that had traveled the stars for thousands of years? They gave him permission because they expected him to fail spectacularly. Tejo had 2 weeks left. 2 weeks to prove humanity's worth, 2 weeks to secure alliances that would change Earth's future forever. He contacted Mireille that night with a new plan. "I need everything," he told her. "Every beautiful thing about humanity. Art, music, food, stories, science, philosophy. Send me everything that makes us who we are." Mireille worked without sleep for 3 days. She gathered files from museums, libraries, and cultural centers across Earth. She recruited scientists and artists to create presentations. She organized decades of human achievement into a single massive data package. Tejo used this package to create something the Convergence Assembly had never seen before: a human culture exhibition. The exhibition hall was transformed. Holographic displays showed Earth's landscapes, mountains and oceans and forests that looked nothing like other worlds. Different, but beautiful in their own way. The first day focused on human art. Delegates wandered through galleries showing paintings, sculptures, and digital creations from every culture on Earth. They saw ancient cave paintings next to modern masterpieces, religious art beside abstract expressions. These were made by individuals, a Villani scholar said with confusion. Not committees or governments. Single beings, creating for what purpose? Joy. Tejo answered simply. Humans create because it makes us happy. Because we want to share beauty with others. The scholar looked at a painting of a sunset over mountains. Something shifted in her expression. I do not understand this feeling. But I think I want to. The second day featured human music. Tejo had worried about this. Music was deeply personal. Would aliens appreciate something so tied to human emotion? He played classical symphonies that built from whispers to thundering crescendos. He played folk songs that told stories of love and loss. He played modern compositions that mixed a dozen cultural influences into something new. The effect was overwhelming. Several delegates began weeping. In their cultures, tears were signs of profound emotional experience. They rarely cried. But human music reached something deep inside them that their own music had never touched. How do you do this? Thera demanded afterward. Her eyes were red, but she refused to admit she had cried. How do sounds create such feelings? Humans feel deeply, Tejo explained. We put our emotions into our art. When you experience it, you feel what we felt. That is powerful, Lyra admitted reluctantly. And dangerous. Only if used for harm. We prefer to use it for connection. The third day was the most surprising. Food. Tejo had arranged for authentic ingredients to be transported from Earth. He cooked traditional Korean dishes himself, following recipes his grandmother had taught him. Rice and vegetables and carefully prepared meats. Spices that had been cultivated for centuries. The delegates approached the food with suspicion. Most species ate for nutrition, not pleasure. Meals were efficient and boring. Tejo served them kimchi stew with perfect rice, grilled meat wrapped in fresh lettuce, sweet desserts that melted on the tongue. The reactions ranged from shock to pure joy. This is flavor, a Corvani delegate whispered. I have never experienced flavor like this. You eat together? Another asked, watching the delegates share dishes family style. Every day? As groups? As families, Tejo confirmed. Meals are when humans connect. We share food and share our lives. Eating alone sounds sad, Nessa said softly. She was sitting beside Tejo, enjoying a bowl of rice with various side dishes. I think I understand humans better now. You build community into everything. The fourth day explored human relationships. This was the most revolutionary part of the exhibition. Tejo explained how humans chose partners based on emotional compatibility. Love, he told them, was not political strategy. It was connection between individual hearts. Humans married for affection, not alliance. This is inefficient, Lyra argued. Emotion is unreliable. Political marriages ensure stable relations between groups. Does stability bring happiness? Tejo asked. Lyra had no answer. Humans believe happiness matters, Tejo continued. We believe that individual joy creates stronger societies than forced unity. When people choose their own partners, their own paths, their own lives, they fight harder to protect what they have built. The exhibition became the most discussed event at the entire Convergence Assembly. Delegates who had dismissed humanity as primitive began speaking differently. They asked questions about human culture. They requested more demonstrations. They wanted to understand. On the fifth day, something remarkable happened. Lyra requested a private meeting. She arrived looking uncomfortable, which Tejo had never seen before. "I have been thinking," she began slowly, "about what you said, about choice and happiness." Tejo waited. "The Villani way is duty. We serve our positions. We marry who benefits our families. We suppress our preferences for the greater good." She paused. "I never questioned this. Until now. What changed? You. Your exhibition. Your explanation of love." Lyra's violet eyes met his. "I have spent my life following orders. I am a commander because my family required it. I married because politics demanded it. I have achieved everything expected of me. And I am not happy." The words seemed painful for her to admit. "I did not know what happiness felt like until I watched humans describe it. Now I cannot stop thinking about what I have missed." One. Tejo felt deep sympathy for her. "It is not too late. You can still find your own happiness. Perhaps." Lyra stood straighter, rebuilding her cold exterior. "I came to tell you that the Villani Dominion will support Earth's application for galactic membership, not because of politics. Because humanity has shown us something we needed to see." One alliance secured. Tejo wanted to celebrate, but Mireille's latest message stopped him cold. "The purists are planning something big," her text read. "Their communications mention the closing ceremony. They want to end this permanently." Tejo's blood went cold. The closing ceremony was in 3 days. Every important delegate would be gathered in one place. He had found humanity's worth. He had begun building real alliances. But none of it would matter if the purists succeeded. He needed to stop them. And he needed to do it without weapons, without soldiers, without any of the things he was supposed to be too primitive to use. He needed to be human. Tejo had 24 hours before the closing ceremony. 24 hours to stop a terrorist attack that could kill thousands and destroy any chance of humanity joining galactic civilization. He gathered his allies in a secure room. Lyra, Thera, Nessa, and Aurea listened with grim expressions as he shared Mireille's intelligence. "Explosives," Tejo explained. "Hidden throughout the station. Set to detonate during the ceremony." The purists planned to blame humanity for the attack. "Clever," Aurea admitted coldly. "Earth would be labeled a terrorist species. Even our allies would have to abandon you." "We must evacuate the station," Lyra said immediately. "If we evacuate, the purists win anyway," Tejo countered. "The Convergence Assembly fails. Earth never gets another chance." "Then what do you suggest?" Thera demanded. "We find the bombs ourselves?" "Yes, exactly that." The room went quiet. Then everyone spoke at once. "Impossible. The station is massive. We do not know how many bombs there are. The purists have been planning this for years. We have hours." Tejo raised his hands. "Listen. I have a plan. But I need all of you. Each of you has something the others do not." He turned to Lyra first. "You know this station. You have access to schematics, security systems, maintenance records. We need to find where bombs could be hidden without anyone noticing." "Actor," Lyra nodded slowly. "I can access those records. But there are thousands of possible locations. Then we narrow them down." Tejo turned to Nessa. "You are a healer. You understand biology and chemistry. Can you identify what kind of explosives the purists might use?" "If I had a sample, I could trace the chemical signature throughout the station," Nessa said. "But I would need to find at least one bomb first. That is where Thera comes in." Tejo faced the warrior. "You have contacts everywhere. Soldiers talk. Someone knows something about the purists' movements. Find me information. Find me a location. Thera grinned fiercely. I was hoping you would let me hit things. Plenty of hitting later. Information first. Finally, Tejo turned to Oria. The purists have supporters in every faction. Someone helped them smuggle explosives onto this station. I need you to find out who. Cut off their communications. Isolate them. Oria's perfect smile turned dangerous. Manipulation and betrayal. My specialty. They separated to complete their tasks. Tejo stayed behind, coordinating through secure communications. Mireille fed him data from Earth. His sister had not slept in days. But her research was invaluable. Thera found a lead first. A junior officer had been seen meeting with known purist sympathizers. She convinced him to talk. He revealed a maintenance corridor in the station's lower levels where suspicious activity had occurred. Nessa took the information and went hunting. Her healer abilities let her sense energy signatures. In the corridor, hidden behind a wall panel, she found a small explosive device. She carefully extracted it, without triggering detonation. I have it, she reported. Beginning chemical analysis. Her scan revealed a specific compound used in the explosive. This compound had a unique signature that could be tracked. Within an hour, Nessa mapped 17 similar signatures across the station. 17 bombs. Hidden in walls, under floors, inside equipment. All positioned to cause maximum destruction during the ceremony. Lyra accessed security systems and identified which locations were near structural weaknesses. 3 bombs were placed to collapse entire sections of the station. The others would cause fires, disable life support, and block escape routes. This was planned perfectly, Lyra said grimly. If these detonate, thousands die. Maybe more. Oria reported success from her end. She had identified 7 purist collaborators within the station's staff. She spread false information through their networks, making them believe the attack was delayed. This bought precious time while Tejo's team worked. The next 12 hours were a desperate race. Tejo could not disarm bombs himself. He was an engineer, but not a bomb expert. Instead, he did what engineers do. He solved problems. For bombs near structural weaknesses, he rerouted power to strengthen force fields around those areas. The explosions would still happen but would be contained. For bombs near life support, he programmed emergency backups to activate instantly. If one system failed, another would take over. For bombs blocking escape routes, he mapped alternate paths and fed the information to station security for evacuation planning. It was not perfect. It was not complete. But it was the best he could do. With the time and resources available. 6 hours before the ceremony, Tejo made a critical decision. We cannot stop all the bombs, he told his allies. But we can stop the people who will trigger them. Purist leadership was directing the attack from somewhere on the station. If Tejo could find them, confront them, and reveal their plans publicly, the attack would lose its political power. Humanity could not be blamed for something that was clearly done by anti-human extremists. Oria traced communications to a private section of the station. A wealthy purist leader had rented an entire level for private meditation. Nobody questioned it, because she was politically powerful. Tejo recognized the name when Oria revealed it. Marek Valis, a senior official from the Valori administrative race. The same race that had mistakenly selected him for the assembly. Suddenly, the clerical error seemed less accidental. She arranged this from the beginning, Tejo realized. She made sure a random human was chosen. Someone who would fail. Someone who could be eliminated easily. But you did not fail, Lyra said. You succeeded. So she needs a bigger solution. We need to expose her. Thera led the assault on Marek's private level. Her warriors moved with precision, disabling guards and clearing rooms. Tejo followed with recording devices active. Everything would be broadcast to the entire station. They found Marek in a control room, surrounded by screens showing countdown timers. She was old, with gray skin wrinkled by centuries of hatred. Her eyes burned when she saw Tejo. The human, she spat. You should have died weeks ago. Your species should never have reached the stars. Why? Tejo asked, his recording capturing every word. What did humanity ever do to you? You exist. You contaminate. Everywhere you go, you change things. Your emotions, your creativity, your chaos. It disrupts the natural order. The natural order you control? Marek laughed bitterly. I have watched your exhibition. I have seen delegates weeping over your music, questioning their cultures because of your ideas about love. You are a virus, Han Teho. You infect everything you touch. Maybe change is not infection, Teho replied calmly. Maybe it is growth. Growth? The galaxy was perfect before humanity arrived. Stable. Predictable. Now you threaten everything. Teho stepped closer to Marek, his voice carrying across the broadcast. I am not a warrior. I am not a politician. I am an engineer who was sent here by mistake. But I have learned something in these 30 days. And what is that? Humanity's greatest strength is not technology or weapons. It is our ability to connect, to find common ground with others, to build something together that neither could build alone. He gestured at her control screens. You tried to destroy that. You planted bombs to kill thousands. You planned to blame innocent people for your hatred. Lies. The broadcast is live, Aurea announced smoothly. The entire station is watching. Every delegate. Every official. Everyone. Marek's face went pale. She lunged for the detonation controls. Thera caught her arm and forced her to the ground. It is over, Lyra said coldly. Your followers are being arrested. Your bombs are being disarmed, and your true face has been shown to the galaxy. Security forces arrived to take Marek away. She screamed curses at Teho as they dragged her out. He did not respond. He was too tired. Too relieved. The bombs were deactivated one by one over the next 3 hours. Teho's preparations meant that the 3 devices they could not reach in time caused only minor damage. No one was seriously hurt. The closing ceremony was delayed by 1 day. When it finally happened, Teho stood before the gathered delegates, not as a victim or a prize, but as someone who had saved them all. He had proven humanity's worth in the most human way possible, not through strength or cleverness alone, through connection, through cooperation, through refusing to give up. The assembly would never see humanity the same way again. The Grand Assembly Hall had never been so quiet. Thousands of delegates filled the massive chamber. But no one spoke. Every eye focused on the raised platform where Teho stood alone. The closing ceremony was supposed to be about alliances and marriages, political unions between factions, the traditional ending to a convergence assembly that had happened the same way for thousands of years. Instead, it became something unprecedented. The assembly speaker, an ancient being with silver scales and wise eyes, rose to address the crowd. We gather under unusual circumstances, she began. 3 days ago, this station nearly became a grave for all of us. Today, we are alive because of one species, because of one man. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The speaker raised a hand for silence. The human representative came to us by accident. He had no training, no preparation, no understanding of our customs. By all measures, he should have failed. She paused, looking directly at Teho. Instead, he showed us what humanity truly offers. Not submission, not political games, but partnership based on mutual respect, connection across the boundaries that separate our kinds. The speaker turned to face the full assembly. I call for a vote. The question: should Earth be granted full membership in the Galactic Union? Not as a junior species, not as a protectorate, as equal partners with full rights and responsibilities. The chamber exploded with voices. Some shouted in support. Others raised objections. It was chaos until the speaker silenced them again. The factions will vote in turn. Lyra stood first. Her Villani commanders stood with her. The Villani Dominion votes yes, she announced. Her violet eyes found Teho's across the chamber. Humanity has shown us that strength comes in many forms. We would be honored to stand beside them. Thera rose next, surrounded by her scaled warriors. The Dravine Empire votes yes. She grinned at Tejo with fierce approval. Any species that refuses to surrender, even against impossible odds, has earned our respect. Humans are warriors of the spirit. Nessa's voice was soft but carried clearly. The Corvani Collective votes yes. Humanity's capacity for healing runs deeper than medicine. They heal divisions between peoples. We have much to learn from them. Aurea stood last, her delicate wings catching the light. The Elysian Federation votes yes. Her perfect smile was genuine for once. I have spent centuries studying manipulation and strategy. Hanteho achieved more through honesty than I could achieve through 1,000 schemes. That is a power worth respecting. Faction after faction added their votes. The support was overwhelming. Species that had dismissed humanity weeks ago now stood in favor. The cultural exhibition, the trials, the rescue from the bombing, all of it had changed their minds. When the final count was announced, the result was unanimous. Earth was now a full member of the Galactic Union. Tejo stood in shock. He had hoped for survival. Maybe 1 or 2 small alliances. Not this. Not everything. The speaker approached him with a ceremonial object. It was a small badge, marking him as an official galactic representative. Han Tejo of Earth, she said formally. You arrived as an accident. You leave as history. Your species owes you more than they may ever know. 17. Tejo took the badge with trembling hands. I only did what any human would do. That, the speaker said with a slight smile, is exactly what makes humanity special. The ceremony concluded with celebrations that lasted through the night. Delegates who had ignored Tejo weeks ago now sought his attention. They wanted to discuss trade agreements, cultural exchanges, scientific cooperation. Earth had gone from forgotten to essential in 30 days. But the most meaningful conversations happened privately. Lyra found him on an observation deck, watching stars through a massive window. You changed me, she admitted quietly. I have served duty my entire life. Now I want to know what it means to choose my own path. What will you do? I do not know yet. But I know I will find out. That is enough for now, Thera interrupted with her usual loudness, slapping Tejo's back hard enough to make him stumble. I still want our rematch, she declared. Now that you are galactic citizens, I expect regular sparring sessions. Humans must learn proper combat. Tejo laughed, despite the pain in his shoulders. I look forward to losing repeatedly. Good attitude. Maybe there is hope for you. Nessa arrived with warm tea and gentle words. The Corvani want to establish a medical exchange with Earth, she told him. Your doctors think differently than ours. Together, we could help many people. I would like that, Tejo said sincerely. You have been kind to me from the beginning. I will not forget it. Nessa blushed slightly, her glowing markings brightening. Perhaps we will see each other again soon. Turn. Aurea appeared last, as mysterious as ever. You surprised me, Han Tejo. That does not happen often. Is that good or bad? Good. Definitely good. She pressed a small crystal into his hand. A gift. My private communication channel. For when you need political advice, or simply want to talk. Tejo looked at the crystal, then at Aurea. Thank you. For everything. Thank yourself. You did the impossible. Own it. The next morning, Tejo received official offers from all 4 factions. Lyra wanted him as a strategic advisor. Thera offered a position as the Dravine's human liaison. Nessa invited him to lead the medical exchange. Aurea proposed he become humanity's first galactic senator. Each offer was generous. Each would bring him power and prestige. Any ambitious person would have accepted immediately. Tejo declined them all. Instead, he proposed something different. A new role as Galactic Ambassador for Earth. Not belonging to any faction. Representing humanity's interests across all alliances. Building bridges instead of walls. His first act was creating what he called the Han Protocol. A framework for peaceful first contact with newly discovered species. Clear guidelines to prevent misunderstandings. support systems to help new civilizations adjust to galactic life. No world would ever experience what Earth almost did. No species would be thrown into impossible situations without help. That was Taeho's promise. 6 months later, he returned to Earth for a brief visit. Seoul looked smaller than he remembered. The streets seemed narrower. The buildings seemed shorter. After living on a massive space station, everything felt different. Mireille and Jay waited at the spaceport. His sister had dark circles under her eyes from months of supporting his mission. His friend looked older than before, but when they saw Taeho walking toward them, they smiled like nothing had changed. "You look important," Mireille said, eyeing his official uniform. "I feel tired," Taeho replied honestly. "Too tired for your sister's cooking?" "Never too tired for that." They walked through the city together, catching up on everything that had happened. Taeho shared stories from the assembly. Mireille reported on Earth's reactions to galactic membership. Jay made jokes about Taeho's new alien admirers. As they passed through a busy market, Taeho's communicator buzzed. Then again. Then 4 times in rapid succession. He checked the messages and groaned. Lyra had questions about defense treaty language. Thera demanded updates on his combat training schedule. Nessa wanted to discuss the medical exchange timeline. Aurea sent a cryptic note about political developments requiring his urgent diplomatic attention. Jay looked over his shoulder and laughed loudly. "Popular guy now, huh?" Taeho sighed but could not stop smiling. "You have no idea." They continued walking through the familiar streets of Seoul. Above them, the afternoon sky was clear and blue. But Taeho's eyes kept drifting upward, past the blue, to where he knew the stars waited. Not long ago, those stars had been distant and unreachable. Humanity had looked up at them with wonder and longing, never knowing what lay beyond. Now Taeho knew. He had walked among those stars. He had met the beings who lived there. He had changed the course of galactic history through nothing more than being human. The stars had not changed, but humanity's place among them had, and for the first time in their long history, the stars were waiting for humanity to arrive, not as visitors, not as strangers, as family. Taeho looked at his sister and his friend. He thought about Lyra and Thera and Nessa and Aurea. He thought about all the beings he had met, all the connections he had made, all the bridges he had built. This was what humanity offered the galaxy. Not technology or power or conquest. Connection. Hope. The belief that different could become together. Han Taeho, accidental ambassador, smiled at the sky. The universe was very large and very old. But humanity was just getting started. And what a beginning it was.